Gaeilge Weekly is brought to you by Learn Irish Online. For way more shows, videos, podcasts and courses for learning the language, head to learnirishonline.com or patreon.com/learnirishonline.
You've been the best of times, you walk me through my darkest days. Why must I turn around? I ask myself. This just ain't fair, so hard to bear. I'm not really sure these days. You walk me, you don't do
Hello, Gaeilge Weekly, agron Céadaoin conas támid fáisarás chuig an show, lig dom beagnaín speisialta, idir mé hÉireann agus an mic. Let me make a bit of space in between myself and the mic so I'm not too loud. You're very welcome to the show. Fáilte mór mílte ró chuig an show an tseachtain seo. Tá súil agam go bhfuil sibh go maith, go bhfuil sibh ag buint taitneamh as an seachtain agus as an deire seachtainna agus go bhfuil sibh chun taitneamh a bhaint as an show seo, and that you're going to hopefully enjoy this show as well. Tá is agam le cúpla seachtain anús agus le cúpla agrán anús over the last few episodes. Bhí mé ag trí measc an rudaí, really. I was mixing, or speaking rather, about a mix of things. Ní raibh mé ag díreú isteach focusing in rud amháin nó téama amháin. So bhí mé géirí agus, is bradla mé sinna dhéanamh agus tá is agam a lán daoine a bhí ag éisteacht is maith libhse freisin é sin agus just ag éisteacht maidir le rudaí difriúla, rudaí agsúla siúla me héal agus an saoil seo sa Spáin agus is bhil agus mar sinse and so on. Ach, freisin, orinttas maithlim díreú isteach téama nó topic amháin. So tá mé chun é sin a dhéanamh an tseachtain seo. Agus bhí mé géirí an teidéal atá an budcréile seo. The title that's on this podcast is Órga na hÉireann. In mBéarla sin, the golden age of Ireland, or the Irish golden age. Now, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, beidir gúil sé sin an nummercha, and it's a very broad term, is terma an a Latin é sin. Ach, tá mé géirí labhairt inniu faoi cúpla ceann na rudaí iontacha atá teacht amach as éireann faoi láthair. So a few of the brilliant things that are coming out of Ireland at the moment, and especially over the last few years, and how it really feels on a lot of levels, mohínsa lan level tifriúla, go bhfuilmuid I ré Órga in éireann, that we are in a golden age in Ireland in terms of a lot of things, in terms of music, modula ceol, in terms of acting and films, modula scanan agus aisteacht, in terms of sport in a lot of ways, modula sport, a lán bally difriúla. So want to speak a little bit about that and how, I guess for me, I'm 25 years old, so tá mise cúg bliana is fihidísh. It feels like there's a lot of things now that are coming out of Ireland that the equivalent weren't coming out 10 or 15 years ago. Ní raibh nig teacht amach no cúg bliana deaghain. Listen, it's difficult to say. Tá sé teachar raw, and I've done full podcasts about this. Tá podcréaltaí omláin na Déanta agam an téama seo de nostalgia is fulam nostalgia. I hate nostalgia and saying it was better years ago, and also I don't like saying, oh, it was really terrible years ago. It's just different. Tá sé difriúil. Tá rudaí agus tá sí níos fearr, tá rudaí agus tá sí níos measa, tá rudaí agus le daoine áirithe tá sí níos fearr, agus inis tá sí níos measa. So there's things that, for specific people, it's better now, and for specific other people, it's worse now, or whatever. Maybe 20 years ago it was better to live in the countryside in Ireland, and now it's worse, but now it's better to live in a city. Tá sin níos fearr, chun bheith I do chonaí sa chathair, whatever. But I'm just kind of looking at the overall thing of, I suppose, trying to be grateful and trying to be really aware of this amazing phase we're living through. In my opinion, dar lumsa an tréimhse iontaach seo ina bhfuilmuid ag marchdal in éireann agus an méid ceolíntaach ag teacht amach, méid scanan agus telefís agus aisteoirí éireannacha ag déanú gohíntaach, the amount of kind of films or TV series, probably less or so TV series actually must be said. Maybe the golden age for that was 10, 15 years ago or even further, or beidir níos mó ná sin le love hate agus Hardy Books agus cin agus na cín seo ortí agus rih sin Father Ted ach sin scéal le but definitely in terms of acting and films, the Irish language as well, and Gaeilge. Going to be speaking a little bit about that and how it really feels like Ireland is kind of having its own moment in a lot of ways that are, our stuff, that it's not just U2 and it's kind of not really that Irish music in its sounds. Níl sé rá éireannach is tóchas a fuma target that not that matters or is a big thing, but and then exporting it out to the US, the UK, but stuff, rudí atá in éireann an war ach freisin, simple and down agus an státe idirnáisiúnta on the international stage that is doing really well. Apologies if you can hear a bit of paper in the background as I flick through my notes to try and find my list, my little agenda for today of things I wanted to speak about agus an lista beag atá agam nua agus na rudaí ará me ag éirí leabhartsaí. And just one thing before I get into it, rud amháin rih a thosníam an so ná tá mé tar éis peochú amach na rudaí is fearr lumsa. So I've after picking out kind of my most favorite things. So in terms of music, in terms of films or sport or whatever, there's a lot of things I've mentioned here. Tá lán rudaí nach bhfuil lút agam tuisina níos mó na rudaí stocha will miss a gaffalo, the things that I'm really into and the things that I really like in regards to different stuff coming out of Ireland. So mix, I guess, today, mask on in you, even though I said it wouldn't be a mix, like mask on you. It's ruddy as Farlam, éasteacht amach as hÉireann. Fui láthair, my favourite things coming out of Ireland at the moment. I suppose different things that are there, whether it be acts or films or music or podcasts that maybe weren't there years ago. Nach raibh sin blianta ó hin. Dús le ceol. Ceapan tá tá an méid sin ceol ag teacht amach as éireann agus fiú ag electric picnic ar an deir seach an méid sin acts éireannacha agus cínte anis, maidir leis an electric picnic is tócha mar an féist is mó in éireann inis. Ceapam inis an fungéad the percentage den acts, cásaíd an as éireanníd nó an as tírealaíd, ceapan bhfuil níos mó éireannig inis ag senim ar electric picnic ná mar bhí ag oxygen mar hampla an félas mó fiche bliain ó hin. So I'd say it's a bigger percentage of the EP acts now, and big acts are probably Irish acts such as I think CMAT was there the weekend and Saw Doctors and Kneecap and whatever. Ach an dá cheann a cheasan amach domsa, the two that really stand out for me ná Fontaines CC an grúpa sin agus 49th and Main, that duo, so an Virch lads an sin as Kilkennig. Agus is tócha ag tosú le Fontaines DC. Tá mé gcónaí ag airí níos gafa agus níos gafa le Fontaines. Is tócha níor mór an simagam I Fontaines. Thúla mé fuú ach níor mé mór an gafaló ní ceapan grau éon dá chuid ceol clusta am go dtí beidir an Tom Short an Uri. Until about this time last year when Romance came out, their most recent album, on album Acu is Janie. And I started listening to that and heard songs, Chulme Aronx, the favourite Starbuster, Bug in the Modern World. I was starting to go, wow, Níl aon rud cosúla seo clustagam ar an Gaeilge or an Gnáthleagan. Then Fud Creile in the first version of the podcast, I didn't really know, what genre can you say they are? And online it said post-punk, and I thought, yeah, that is it. It's I think people put too much emphasis on genres. Ceapan go mín gurtir an numracha béim ar genre agus fiú nervhí me ag léamh faoi Fontaines ar mad sin. Honnig mé go dúirt freisin go siad post-punk agus post-Brexit core agus tá mé like, can't shaffo this. What nonsense this post-Brexit core? What's that even mean? And why, why are people trying to come up with these things? Like Talan, Jen snobbery shin, he was je chol is shin kerklor. Near Fontaines, agrá, agrá ein rud mar shin fu hu fein. Fontaines weren't saying anything about themselves like that. So yes, even though an fum an tá ag Fontaines GC, tá sé antifriúil ó in den eile in grúpa nor closin tú go Green Chatton. When you hear Green Chatton's voice, it's fairly easy tá sé sa éasca hon ista bheith agat cé atá ag canú agus cín grúpa atá ann. It's fairly easy to know who's singing and what group it is. Around cosúla favourite agus cíchmh difriúil agus atá sé ó Starbuster agus tá an dá ar an sin ar an album céine, those two songs are on the same album ach tá siad cód difriúil, so sin rud eile an éagsúlacht the variety atá acu. Agus, bhí méid labhairt ceapam beidir an agrán a runna mé faoi Oasis hart ar míohin, bhí méid labhairt faoi léon ceol nó léon grúpa nó banna ceol nó aránaí in group or artist or songwriter Arlóí caithí simimh agat sa ceol agus caithí an ceol a hatna bhlaat and you have to like the music agus mar sinse ach freisin ceapam chuna bheith like chun a lán sim agat agus chuna bheith gafa le grúpa aigen nó aránaí aigen to be kind of really obsessed or into a band or a group or a songwriter, individual, solo artist, whatever. Cai sim a bheith agat sna rudí a bhfuil siad agrá, freisin is tócha fiú na rudí bhfuil siad rá mar Fontaines dearann siad lán rudí politiúla agus níl mé ar cóhain sin le lán de na rudí politiúla a bhíonn siad ag labhairt faoi. Ach, fós is íhanlum mar hampla éisteacht le podcréile le Green Chatton nó le Carlos O'Connell Green Chatton an lead, the front man agus Carlos O'Connell ceapam go mbíonn sé ar an guitar nó ar an bass ceann dena cín sin agus tá sé fear simul chun éisteacht lo agus éisteacht faoi an outlook atá acu an dearca atá acu an world view atá acu bach freisin is dócha na scéalta atá acu agus bheith taistil agus an ceol agus an tower an seo tá sé tábhaach mBéarla seo agus an próséis madra leis an scríbhnocht agus ceapan ar atá sim agat sna scéaltaí atá acu nó an character atá acu their character and who they are agus cé hiad hain ceapan ghfuil sé níháin níos éasca chun sim a bheith agat sa chrúpa sin a chomhmála sin chun just a bheith excited faoi agus chun níos mó taitnamh a bhaint as a ceol agus mar hampla Coldplay, okay? So is even an ceol Coldplay ach beidir mBéarla nach bhfuil mór an agaibh clostágan le Chris Martin nó beidir mBéarla Coldplay tá siad níos mó faoin geol agus ní bhíonn siad Céadaoin rud or more on really tíomh muid an ceol. Beidir níl mór an simagam actually dul arás go hÉireann just chun dul go cheol chum Coldplay ach rachin nó rachach mé arás go hÉireann chun fécinn agus chun freastal ar ceol chum Fontaines. I would go back to watch a Fontaines or 49th and Main concert. Maybe Coldplay is a bad example actually there because I do find Chris Martin interesting. Captain Gould, Chris Martin, simul a group eile. Mar hampla, especially maybe some of the American artists that are they have so much corporate and commercial stuff around them. Ní féidir le really labhairt faoi aon rud simul nó níl na scéaltaí céanna ag a lán chuid acu. So you're not buying into it mar dear fá in mBéarla as much as you would be with another artist. 49th and Main I really love as well. To be honest, maybe that's an example of why I listen a bit more to Fontaines, for example, than 49th and Main, but I still really love 49th and Main. But they haven't done many interviews or podcasts or documentaries or anything ní more an agaliv, no podcréaltaí, no clór fásnéise, Déanta acu. So mBéarla sin, I haven't got the same buy-in to me without having heard anything from them gone really. Aon rud a chostal wethú. They're just kind of two normal Irish lads about my age, bit older, heart there, my hÉireann, no beidir beagnaín, ní sin and that's fine, but they could probably even do better and really break the mold in Ireland more and internationally óhéamh idirnáisiúnta de freisin nó go idirnáisiúnta if they kind of spoke a bit more and did more stuff. I'm not saying do more media just to get bigger, ní mé gur níos mó media agus níos mó aglah íanamh just chun a bheith níos mó ach is dócha onas-gúil rud ag an eile seachas just an ceol é hain ó bhfuil tú an a bheith gafa leis, something else that you can really get into apart from just the music itself. And again, it doesn't have to be anything political by any means. I don't really like when bands or artists are too political. Ní maithlam really nervine Bonnie ceol nó aránaí ró full of tool, but just something else, a bit of character, who they are, can you relate to them, agus mar sinse, and so on. So 49th and Main, two lads from Kilkenny, Bert's lads as Kilkennig, agus Céadaoin, Ben, Cap Montanum atá producer so bhín sesin ag déanamh tracks sais indie pop atá nach arís cosúla fontaines tá agsúlacht more idir na hÉireann agsúla. There's a big variety in between the various songs and various albums. If you wanted to get into them, I'd recommend listening to Boats, that album, with kind of purple cover. Ceapan atá says clúla curcra atá an anha fad. Arís Jackar really hun comprád dhéanú le ein grúpa nó ein producer eile Paddy sin an lad eile bín sesin ag canú agus ag sin an guitar nó an bass nó an electric bass na rudí mar sin aran cosú le Midnight Juice agus Icy agus Can't Walk Away an bhá fad agus orintanta bín sé níos is dóch níos techie agus níos dancey a orintanta bín sé óhád níos mó sais níos réichúsí is dócha mór laid back, more chilled out agus úsáidir a land an dá arán an sin ar RTE kind of a lot of their songs or music is used on RTE in some of the ads. Fogri has, so you probably have heard some of their songs like Catching Eyes, mar hampla roimh seo mátá chance agat dul agus éisteacht le fontaines agus 49 an main mono bhfuil siad clusta agat hana féin if you haven't heard them already an bhá fad. Ach, tá méid sin aráníthach sin is dócha an dá arán nó an bhirt aránaí nó an dá grúpa nó bhana ceol a haithníonn níos mólam faoi láthair. Seach sé sin freisin ar nóítá an Gaeilge nó tá rial amháin nó tá príomhrial amháin agam ar an show. One main rule on the show agus sin nach mín mé ag labhairt faoin Gaeilge that I don't speak about the Irish language seachas ar agran amháin ar cheachtain na Gaeilge I mí mórta apart from on one episode every March on Seachtain Gaeilge Irish Language Week. Ach, is dócha tá mé chun an réal sin a bhrisú beaganí an seo. Just níos mó na aonrad, listen, I'm preaching to the converted, tá sagah go léir, an chuí bhfuil an Gaeilge ag dul the way that Irish is going, agus go bhfuil sé ag éirí níos mó, go bhfuil sé ag éirí níos popular, go bhfuil níos mó daoine ag éirí í a labhairt, agus go bhfuil níos mó daoine ag éirí í a ólam, nó í a ólam to learn it or to relearn it. Agus just níos mó na aonrad eile an taonród ó bhfuil mé ag éirí rá, ná go bhfuil sé níos feicálaí. I suppose this is a concept seo chunceap. Nach ní ra mé creidimh sa chunceap seo beidir cúpla blianú hin ach an níos tá mé ó bhád níos mó. And that's the idea that visibility kind of is key in the early stages of promoting something so tá feicálacht. An na tábhata go háirithe go luath nuair atá tú ag chur rud ag an chun cín. You see it now with getting more, let's say, female pundits or women in sports coverage or in whatever industry it might be. Níos mó mrá a bheith an sin mar pundits mar hampla an sin sa sport nó le péród atá ann. And the idea that, well, if a young girl can see it, then she can go on to be it. Mátá duine óg nó chalín óg in an eáil by sin an leanúint agus é sin a dhéanú nó by níos mó seans eici. Agus tá sais an rud céine leis an Gaeilge. An ceant an rudí anna tábhaach agus gcónaí bíon daoine ag labhairt faoi éideachas na Gaeilge san scoil na ní cheapan gúil sé sin mar an rud is tábhataí ar churb. I don't think that's the most important thing at all. But Irish has to be cool. It has to be something people want to do and want to learn. So caithfidh sé a bheith cool agus caithfidh sé a bheith mar rud éigean ó bhfuil daoine ag éirí fólam agus labhairt agus mar sinse. Ach freisin caithfidh sé a bheith feicálaach agus caithfidh sé a bheith accessible mar dearan muds I mBéarla, as we say in English. Because again, 15 years ago, or even 10 years ago, few definitely know in Gaeilge sa cúigeag is cuiblum bhí mé géirí agus mise ar an meán scoil ag éirí éisteacht le níos mó rudaí trí bheán na Gaeilge. I wanted to listen to more things through the medium of Irish. Agus ní rá ann ach radio na Gaeltachta. BHFAD for me was always the kind of first big Irish language podcast that broke through. I think that started in 2017. Ceapan gur thosaigh sé sin Gaeilge sa seachtaig when I interviewed Sinead Níolacán on this podcast. Nuair rinne mé agalibh le Sinead Níolacán ar an budcréile seo thart ar bliain ó hin nó gábh bliain ó hin inis, but a year or 2 years ago now. She said when they started, there was only one other called Gaeilge, which I also remember as cuireann le mé sin fresh nach níos I set up ceart a bhí ann le Gaeilge. probably was officially the first ever Irish language podcast. Agus ceap, gur thosaí sin beidir gabhail sa séide, gabhail teachte. Tim líon ó hin bhíocht éisteacht le radio na Gaeltachta 10 years ago yet to listen to Órga G. And what's Órga G? For good or for bad, a lot of it is, not a lot of it, but a decent chunk of it. Cuid wate, tá sé glárts fi nuacht áitiúil, nuacht sa Gaeltacht, rudí nachhuil ró simul te gná le daoine óga, things that aren't as interesting for young people, especially 10 years ago, was more like that. Now it's changed a bit, it's evolved, it's more national news, international news, more stuff for young people as well. Nís mó rudí le daoine óga a go háirithe de nó fiú fithe bliain ó hin. Bhí sé, tá I seo tar éis tarlú I Gcuidóir. This is after happening Gcuidóir. Tá sé seo tar éis tarlú I le tomór tomatón láhart san is le dul éigeal na radio official agus tá sé an brónach nachhfuil, and all of that, which is fine for what it is, but in terms of getting young people excited and just your everyday person, an gná duine go háirithe mas as an taobh den tíorthú if you're from the other side of the country. Ní leon simad cad atá siúil Connemara nó Gcuidóir nó Chorcha Guibhne agus ní ceart go méid simad. You shouldn't be interested, or you have no reason to be interested either. So ceapan an iscúil radioon Gaeltachta tar éis dul an tro sin, ach níos mó éonar tá méid sin podcréaltaí an níos le fáil trí bheán na Gaeilge. Tá sé híntaach ar fad ar nóí, tá tosa géisteach le podcréile Gaeilge isteach, tá na seansálaithe, tá seachtain, nó sin, tá an spotta dómh beor éigean ar nóí chinach mín siad ag teacht amach le heagrán nua na léitheanta seo tá mo ceol thu, tá scéalta agus béalta freisin, tá nuacht bháil, tá sealla seán, an sin an méid rudí ar TG cethir, tá éagsúlacht do bhhad níos mó ar TG cethir níos much bigger variety, agus arís rudí níos nua aimsithe rudí le daoine óga, so more modern stuff stuff for young people as well. Dumsa tá bhhad níos mó le fáil, rudí hon éisteach le rudí hon go fréid leat féchans ar freisin. Tá sé an bhá I gcompráid, fiú má tá tú I géirí an nuacht a léamh. Demlín ó hin ní rah aon áit ar lína hon nuacht a léamh trí bheán na Gaeilge tá extraG.caí, tá nós.caí, tá tuairisc.caí, tá éireann.caí, tá orsaí.caí /Gaeilge /nuacht. Tá an méid sin áit sin agus gach seachtain, gach mí fiú, even every month, mohíonn sé gúil cean eile, gúil cean eile, agus gúil sin níos feicálaí, gúil sin níos cool, agus níl is agam cén fá, tá lán rudaí buint le sin ní seo an áit is fearr chun labhart srí ach an áta an Gaeilge dul stro ceart, agus rís, I gan fithe trocha carcha blian, ceapam agus tá súil agam go maiid ag féic an siar, that we'll be looking back and we'll be saying, jeez, na fihidí, nach rá sé sin mar an speisialta don Gaeilge. Wasn't that a very special time for the Irish language and Irish language revival? And how much it came back, the amount of things, and all of a sudden over the course of 5-10 years, there's cúig bliana demlín a bhí an méid sin Papa Gaeltachts, bhí an méid sin podcréaltaí agus meán agus físeánaí agus content déanta trí bheán na Gaeilge, na dearcaí chuig na Gaeilge bhí siad athraithe attitudes towards Irish, they were saying. So, tá sé éasca agus is dócha sin an nó seo an rud ó bhfuil mé ag éirí carnúil, the thing I want to express I ri an fodcréile seo. Gúil sé I gcónaí éasca chun féchan siar agus rá nach ra rudaí go híntaach sa 2000s ar na nócaidí agus nó na thuchtaidí ach be ceartún féchans ar inis gingermatar cad a hála ru seo. Forget about what happened, not forget, but caiitú bheith here and now agus tá rudaí iontacha a bhéasmud I gan fithe bliain ag féchan siar orthú, things that in 20 years time we will be looking back and saying, geez, it was a fantastic, amazing time in Ireland for X, Y or Z. Cad eile atá scríbhsís, tá cúpla rud scríbhsís agam seo nachhfuil mór an sim agam on two things that I'm not really interested in, but I thought it'd be remiss not to mention them. That's, for example, I'm not a big movies or film guy by any means, but obviously acting agus the actors agus na scanán freisin, tá méid sin scanán ag teacht amach ar nóí sa Gaeilge freisin leis an scanán nícap an scanán an chalín ciú nach scanán eile freisin ag teacht amach I mBéarla as éireann ach na haisteoirí freisin. Ok, Saoirse tá Saoirse ar an bhód le 10 nó 2 bliana deaganis. Saoirse been on the scene for maybe 10 or 15 years, but last 5 years, Cillian Murphy and how gone to another level, not just big in Ireland, across the world. Simple and down and brilliant representatives across the world as well. Barry Keoghan freisin agus Saltburn agus Banshees of Inisherin agus Colin Farrell agus an revival a bhí aige le cúpla bliana nús arís le Banshees mar hampla Paul Mescal ar nói worldwide star anis. So yeah, like arís níl mór an sum Scotland nu mé géirí labhairt an numracha faoi seo. Don't want to speak too much about this because I don't like speaking about stuff that I don't know much about, but from what I hear from a lot of people more into it as cadatá clostágam agus fiú, níl bháin in éireann ach bín daoine ag labhairt faoi seo sna stáitínte agus riachtainte agus timpeall an down. People do be speaking about this in the UK, the US and around the world, is of what a good time it is in terms of Irish actors and Irish film and so on. So there's that side of it. Another thing as well is rugby, and I'm moving on to sport here to my bugger Roy. Good see on sport on so rugby in éireann cénach, will my rogafa leis an rugby, even though I'm not too into the rugby. It is a special time for rugby. The Lions tour during the summer. On tour sa Lions, or is an Astral leis na Lions ar an Tari. Captain cúpla ceann in a cluichí hí níonar as an the Cougar jeg ag tosú ag gimmert le hÉireann. 9 of the 15 starters were playing with Ireland or were Irish players. Sin do chreidte, like a rí seo rodile gan fihin ó tro blian ní bhaid sé, mar sin agus baimmuid ag bhécinn tír ag rá, wow, na grá sé sin go híntaach. Fiú rodí sa sport agus ar nóí tá fur na man sa rugby ag immert faoi láthair sa chur an Déanta. The women's team are playing at the moment in the World Cup. I think bhfuil sé ar siúil le Sasanna agus bhuaigh siad an in Spáin in dhééis tá si tríd níos go dtí an bhálta cabhrú ceannis. So an rud céine an sin. Agus an sin much le sport bhfuil níos mó sim agam ar Stoke in terms of sport that I'm more interested in tá an luachlásaíocht a leisics agus chonig muds an nuirí na cluichí Olympicínta go seo okay le cúna dé tá muid an éirí níos fearr le gach Olympics in LA agus tar éis sé sin nach seans má nach bhfuil muid an éirí níos fearr ar fa fiche troch a carcablín agus baimiid ag fécinn siar ar na cluichí sin I bóras those games in Paris agus cé go bhíonach agus na buin go léir a bhuaigh muid the medals that he won. And again, I suppose, and this feeds back into everything I've talked about so far, tá sé seo ceangail le gacrod atá luatsa agam go dtí seo. Agus sin an sais muoín atá gin, an muoín sa bhreis beagnach atá gin, that kind of extra confidence that we have, agus mis ag fású níos maidir leis na cluichí Olympic agus an luachlásaíocht. Nuair bhí tú ag féchant ar an line-up roimh rás, bhí an luachlásaí sin as Kenya, agus bhí cumar thuúmar tá siise nó tá sesin an seo chun buchant agus tá sací céad fan géad go bhfuil si nó sé chun é sin a dhéanú. Agus an sin bhí an luachlásaí as an rank. Agus bhí stílí determination ar agus bhí sé an seo chun buchant agus an sin an ceannas na stáitíntaí an chorus all over. So this huge system in the United States, it only spits out the best athletes there for goals. If they win a silver or bronze, they'll be thrown it in the bin. Bhí sé an seo chun buchant. Agus an sin, feictar féidir tar éis gach den eile lad chalíonn an a bád an a bheog le gansaí glass got a very small pale white guy or girl in a little green shirt representing Ireland agus bhí sé le níl an cuma nó an eye who they don't kind of have the face or just look in general of someone who is there to win and who, as much as I'm sure they want to, it's kind of like almost we have this kind of attitude in Ireland, we're almost happy to be there, and it's almost, it would be rude for us to win. Actually, druch bhéasach a dhaoine nó bhaine chun buchant, ní cheartún a bheith an seo, agus ceapan le lánrad ile fantainsaí agus 49th Main an sin sa cheol, agus an sin leis an sport, leis an rugby, le fur na man, fur an léir, like with the men's team, with the women's team, má híonn sé, be ceartún a bheith an seo, agus is féidir le bheith mar, na daoine is fearr ar down ag an rud show. We can be the best in the world at this thing. Níl sagam cén chuí bhfuil sé sin, ahríhann bhfuil sé marall nach bhfuil an méid Catholic guilt agin inis sa tír, an bhfuil sé na sá marall ar cúpla duine rinne go maith. River seo, one or two people who did well before now, and we're taking inspiration from it. Ag aimsú is tócha inspirads ó na daoine sin ní me cínse. Actually, ag zaríis beidir ní hé seo an áit is fear chun láirt faoi sin mar chaithí méid críoch a chur leis an bud craile go luath. I have to wrap up the podcast soon. Ach tá an muoín sin agin beidir nach rá river seo agus nach rá nervhí mis ag fású níos agus gandát rih a rogu mé hén freshen sa chuman Lucas Gael blintin Scott sa fel Gaelic. An amazing year in the Gaelic football. Maybe not so much in hurling, but hurling's been in a good place for years anyway. Tá an Amáilíocht in áitiúntaach le blinta éireann ach sa fel Gaelic an sin blioníntaach na rialacha nua seansan an lad háding is straach leis na rialacha nua Jim Gavin seanscoil sesin chuna bheith ina Uachtarán I gceann cúpla mí. So the lad who brought in the rules, he's probably going to be the president in a few months. Shows how well he did with those. League of Ireland, Jesus, $100 $10 million, a few $8 million. To go back 10 years ago or even 8 years ago, agus raw le fan ó an League of Ireland fan le St. Pat's no Galway United no Treaty United seo iad na attendances in éireann Lahi and League of Ireland sa bhliain 2020. Tá siad like God not 3 or níos mó ná mar bhí siad. They're 2-3 times what they were. Unbelievable rise due to quality in the league is tóca because of Brexit and a few other things agus níos margad agus mar eile Brexit agus riadachad sa friúla tá cáilíocht beag níos fearr agus tá caid an beag níos fearr. The quality and the standard is a bit better, but more than anything as well during COVID a lot of things change agus níos tá níos mó daoine agus éis cosú leis an Gaeilge tá sé cool chundul go cluthe League of Ireland, factor na rudí tá á dhéanamh ag bows mar hampla, it's seen kind of things that bows are doing with their jerseys and their stuff off the pitch agus éis níos mó ná just okay sure foreign soccer agus sin tá níos mó ag buint leis. There's more to do with it and people love going. People I grew up with who had no interest now go all the time. Daoine a dá san níos lumsa nach charáin sim acu dul an is tá siad ag dul gach seachtain agus is even nó dul go Éimeann GC Park no wherever, the Brandywell or the around McBride Stadium and Tanamatar and ish no inch core an sinnim Lochlea on fechan sure Pats agus mar sinja tá sé go híntaach. So Euro 2028 ag teacht well Jean Rick Déanta freshen go hÉireann ag gceann 3 bliana. So tá lán rudí chuna go fréid leat a bheith dearfach faoi agus éis chur mé an béim. I put the emphasis no Jerry me stracker. I focused in on stocha narodi a had ní small lumpsa san episode show. I'm not a big trad man, but there's apparently been a big trad revival over the last few years. The revival sa trad le cúpla bliain nús. Agus tá lán rudí madr leis an gceol nor Louis mentioned a lot of things in regards to music that I didn't mention there. And yeah, I'm sure just a lot of more cultural things and wider things going on around the country are sure simple. Nid séra ach sin just cúpla rud around me an smuoine fuhu agus a had níon go mór lumsa. So a few things I was able to think about and that really appeal to me. Agus just ag géirí níl mé gra go bhfuil sé gihíntaach in éireann faoi láthair le gacrad ach ní raibh sé riomh, it never was. Agus just tá sé difriúil tá rudí agus tá sí níos fearr ná fiche nó trocha bliain ó hin. Tá rudí agus tá sí níos massa ná fiche nó trocha bliain ó hin. There's things that are better now than 20-30 years ago in Russ. It's just different. Tá siad difriúil ach I gceann fiche bliain baim dig fécinn siar agus maidir le rudí cosúil leis an gceol nó cosúil whatever it is in your own life baim dig fécinn siar ag rá nach raibh sé sin gionach nach raibh an tréimh sé sin anmha ar fad. Wasn't that period very good? And that's how it goes. And why not be grateful for it and really enjoy it while it's on and while we have it. Agus an rud sin agin faoi láthair and be cartoon a bheith buíochas agus a bheith ólach kind of aware as freshen. So that is it for this week, guys. Jenny Lahai on Sockton Show. As always, if you want to get in touch with the podcast, you can send me an email at liam.learnirishonline@gmail.com. I read all the emails that come in and go on bin meg leave Nari fust fad a hagen isteacht. Míle buchas, gur míle magaibh agus le rá me live on Sockton Show. And I'll speak to you guys next week. Slán agus bannacht. Goodbye and God bless.